Hi, I'm Jack Baruzzini, and you're listening to The Secret to Stargate, where we talk about the hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies, TV series, and more. And joining me today are Jeff Haecker. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, Jack.
And Lisa Jones. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Jack.
And Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Hey, Jack. It's my Ronan Dex impression.
Very nice.
That's good.
Thanks.
Today we are discussing the 4th episode of Season 2 of Stargate Atlantis, The Runner. The Atlantis expedition discovers a dead Wraith, and evidence points to the missing Aiden Ford as the killer. While searching for Ford on a planet with high UV radiation, Shepard and Taylor are captured by Ronan Dex, a skilled warrior who has been hunted by the Wraith for years. Meanwhile, Ford captures McKay to prove his enhanced abilities. Ronan, revealed to be a runner with a Wraith tracking device implanted in him, agrees to help Shepard capture Ford in exchange for removing the device. After a confrontation and the arrival of the Wraith darts, Ford is presumed dead after running into a coaling beam. The episode concludes with Shepard offering Ronan a place on Atlantis and showing him the devastation of his home world. What are your thoughts on this episode, Lisa?
This is a fun one. We get introduced to a new character, and Ronan's going to be our new Ford. And a series regular and an awesome addition, really. I mean, all the things we were not happy with Ford for last year for being boring. Ronan is not boring. So he's going to bring a little bit of energy, a little bit of excitement to the show. So I like it. There's just so much comedy in this one in the midst of what's going on. And I think Major Lorne and McKay and then you got Taylor being very calm through all of it. And then on the flip side, you have Ford, who just has gone Looney Tunes. And that's so much more exciting than he ever was last year.
Yeah.
So I liked it. It's a good one.
Ford tripping on Wraith enzymes is much more fun.
Yeah.
What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, this is another fun one, like Lisa said. You get the introduction of Ronan, you get Ford, as we said, his being goofy, like we've been walking in circles for hours, and you get we said Major Lorne is his first appearance as well. Who's I think Victor is giving the thumbs up as one of his characters that he likes. So overall a great episode, and looking forward to what's next with Ronan.
Yeah, I know him primarily from the new Dune movie. He's in that, so it's fun to see him in an earlier role. What about you, Victor?
Yeah, no, Robert C. Cooper redeemed himself. I mean, he's a really good Stargate writer, but after last week's Origins, which, Jack, you weren't here, and it's a wonder that we're still on the air after that last episode. But
well, it hasn't come out yet.
I watched it. I did not just avoid watching the episode. I did actually watch it.
Yeah, so go back and watch that Secrets of Stargate, episode 189. But yeah, this is Robert C. Cooper at his finest. It's funny. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of really good character work and interplay. And so I really like the writing. This is kind of in Stargate Atlantis. This is one of a few episodes that if I think of Stargate Atlantis, like an image from this episode will pop up. And usually it's, when they're in the cave, and they're operating on Ronan or something. They did some really amazing film, digital DV work in this, which we'll touch on. Martin Wood, the director, really made the most of this episode. But yeah, we get to see Ronan, of course, who becomes a series regular, and then of course Kevin Smith as Major Lorne, who is the perfect foil to Rodney in a way that Ford, I think, was intended to be, but never really grew into that role. And of course, we do get to see Rainbow Son Franks as kind of a goofier, Looney Tunes, as you said, Ford, which is really fun. Unfortunately, we don't see a lot of that going forward, but it's enjoyable while it lasts.
Mm.
I almost wonder if, because this is kind of Ford's definitely on the way out. I know we'll see him a bit more later on, but I wonder if he asked if he could just be as wacky and out there as possible, because he's not really had much to do in the rest of the show.
On the commentary, they did say this was as close to like rainbows on Frank's, like the actor's personality as Ford had ever been kind of allowed to be.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And this might be an unpopular opinion, but I thought McKay was too much in this episode.
Yeah. I had a note on that as well.
Yeah. McKay is funny, but I feel like every McKay bit in this episode, just like it kept going for like 4 jokes too long. It's like, all right.
Well, yeah. And it's kind of like when Robert C. Cooper does write an episode, there's a lot of like, kind of dumping on McKay, and it does kind of the joke does wear a little thin. But after this episode, David Hewitt never does this, but he said on the commentary that he actually called Robert C. Cooper and thanked him for writing this episode and giving McKay such a good part, because he's actually doing some really good comedic work in here. He's running around in a hazmat suit. He's getting pulled up into a snare trap and having to hang around, and do lines and stuff while he's upside down, which is never easy to do. So, it's definitely, he should have won an Emmy or whatever the Canadian, Saturn, Leo, or whatever awards. He should have won one for that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's, we definitely get a lot of the planet Toronto in this episode. It's funny watching this, and especially like thinking around the time like Battlestar Galactica, I think, was on at the time, and they had a lot of episodes taking place on like lush forest planets like this, and it's like this is probably all the exact same places, and you got people in like green BDUs running around.
Yeah, this was actually I think like a new filming location for them in Vancouver, and the night scenes, interestingly, actually were filmed at night. They had like huge inflatable, light basically casting. That was their single source of light. And Martin Wood, took him like 4 hours to set up the light and make sure, that there was adequate lighting in the background and the foreground. And it looks really good. It almost looks like at some points that like the scenery is digital as they're moving through it, but it would have been too advanced for that time. And the opening scene with Major Lorne and Dr. Parrish, played by Jonathan Young. I like Dr. Parrish. He actually like found out he was doing that part like the day before, because the other actor they had cast, had a conflict and had to back out. And so he was learning his lines. And then of course, the very first thing that starts off the episode is a single take. It's like a 3-minute take or so, where they're walking through the woods, looking at plants. Dr. Parrish has to rattle off all this stuff about the different plants. And then they come across the Wraith. They did have to cut it. So they did one insert after the fact with like their stand-ins as them. That's the top down shot early on. But so kudos to him for coming in and learning his lines so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was nice to have them open the episode with none of the main characters and just drop you right into it. That was fun to see, because I was definitely wondering where they were going with that. If this was going to be like a Lower Decks kind of thing.
Yeah, and my son, who was watching it with me, even said like, "Oh no, red shirts," and I was like, "No, actually, they both survived this time." Yeah.
I think it was Lauren's second appearance, because he was in an SG-1 episode. I don't know if I think it was Major Lauren. It may have been a different character, but it was the actor he was in. I think it was Enemy Mine, the one with the Unas.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and he was Lauren in that episode.
Yeah, he was Lauren. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was his own sarcastic self there as well. But yeah, I mean, it's just such a dry character and just plays off Rodney so perfectly. There's just so much great back and forth between the two of them.
Yeah. One of my favorite lines is, "You must be a genius. You must be," what was it like? "You must be really, really, really a genius." And he's like, "Well, of course I am," or whatever. Because it's like, how else would Shepard not have shot you by now?
Yeah. And I'm wondering too if it's because that Shepard has to now play at a higher level, and so he can't just be there trading barbs with Rodney, and it would look weird for like your sympathetic kind of main lead character who's like the hero to just kind of be punching down to Rodney by, being sarcastic and insulting him all the time. So maybe they just needed to introduce a new foil, but I'm really glad they did, because I like Major Lauren.
Yeah, I do too.
And there's plenty of Shepard McKay punching going that happens throughout the rest of the series too. So like one episode, I think like you said, I think it was a good idea and that it gives Lauren, something a little, introduction there. So
it also gives Ford the chance to actually like let McKay have it, because McKay and Shepard both have just been so mean to him the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was actually a reference in this to everybody playing pick on Ford. And there was actually a scene that was cut out of Brotherhood where they were actually like playing pick on Ford or something. And I don't know if it was the prime number scene or that might have been a different episode, but it alluded to a previous scene that had been cut. But yeah, they had been kind of mean to Ford, and so we get Ford. It's like he's funny, he's menacing, and yet he's very tragic at the same time because he just wants to prove himself, and come home and prove that he's changed and he's better now. But that's not what happens.
Nope.
No,
not at all.
No,
and I thought he played that very well, because he doesn't just play him as evil and insane like he's turned into what's his name from Apocalypse Now off in the jungle, but
Colonel Kurtz or
Colonel Kurtz or Rambo or something. But he comes across like he's every time he sees the characters, like he's trying to be all buddy with them, and
they drew first enzyme, not me.
Yeah. It's like he's trying to be friendly and he's coming across way too friendly, and then he tries to shoot you.
And it's good misdirection too, and I like kind of like the kind of the almost symbiotic relationship that Ford and Dex have, where we think it's because the Wraith was chasing Ronan, as Ronan is a runner, and Ford just happens to chase the Wraith that's chasing Ronan and kill him. So I wish there would have been more between Ford and Ronan. We do get one kind of frantic fight sequence. It's not clear why Ronan would jump Ford to save McKay at this point. It happens later on in the episode, though. So
yeah. It was kind of nice the way they set it up, because first things, the Wraith is missing the enzyme pouch, so okay, this is going to be Ford. So you think the whole episode is kind of them trying to capture Ford or get Ford back or whatever, and then you get the runner, and that's it's actually, I think, probably a larger storyline than what was going on with Ford. And so it was it's nice to have both of those characters running in parallel during this episode, that they did interact, but it was like the stories and how one was a tragic hero in a way that he'd been this military person, and then the Wraith had experimented on him and done this to him, and he'd become the runner, and he tells the story about he can't go stay one place even for a night because he tried that and everybody was killed, and so he's got this story and this he's dangerous, but there's just something about him that's just so tragic. And then you've got Ford, on the other hand, he's just all over the place. He kind of reminded me of like a toddler or a small child. Like, they're like, okay, you're going to do this. You're going to do this. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. And then it's like, no, we're going to go over here and do this, and I'm going to save them all. And it's all good, And it's just, and at that moment, that Rodney's trying to interact with them and trying to get him back to the jumper and trying to bring him in and all this stuff. And you realize Ford's not going to be okay. Like, they're not going to save him. This is, at least in this episode, it's not going to happen. So the hero of the episode turns out to be Ronan and not what's going on with Ford. So I liked that. That was kind of like, you thought it was going here, and then it ends up this great new character who's going to take over as a series regular for him.
And I guess my big worry with Ronan, with him coming in, was that he was just going to end up being kind of the Teal'c replacement for Atlantis. But I think they did a good job making him alien enough to the team to where he's not just another like Taylor, but he's much more charismatic than Teal'c is, and he's much more world weary. Like, Teal'c has that idealism about him, about fighting the Jaffa, whereas Ronan's almost the opposite, where he's just so beaten down.
Yeah, Teal'c is very, like, he's still very cultured. Even he's Jaffa, but he's very cultured and always proper. And Ronan is I think it's the next episode. There's a scene of him eating that's pretty funny, and like you come to know he's been on the run for a while. Like he hasn't really been around people much, and doesn't really has kind of forgotten what it can be like to be among people, and where you're relatively safe compared to what he had been. Like it's almost like he has to kind of reintegrate into a society.
Yeah, I like his introduction too, because when we first see him, something has stunned. And I love what is it? I don't know if it's called the Justifier or whatever it's called. I'll look it up. His pistol that he has, his stun pistol. Cool. Yeah, and he's stunned Shepard and Tayla, and they're tied up, and they look over, and there's like he looks kind of like a Geico caveman at first, just kind of like going through their stuff, and you're like, oh wow, it's like here's like another Unas type situation. And then the very first thing he does is he charges the P90. He knows enough about weapons to know that automatic weapons need to be charged in that way, which shows that he's smarter than the average bear, but also has a military background there. So that was a really cool introduction, I thought as well. So Jason Momoa, he came in from Australia the day before he started shooting his scenes on this episode.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, just hit the ground running, literally, because he actually is a very fast runner, which caused some problems for the production. There's one point at which they're trying to track him, and the camera's on a 4x4, Polaris vehicle, and they're trying to track him through the forest, and he's actually outrunning the vehicle at one point. And they wanted to in the flashback where he encounters Ford and they take out the Wraith, and then he runs off, they wanted to kind of end the flashback with him, kind of just fade out with him like kind of just running off, but he actually ran too fast and was like out of the scene before they could so he like literally running just through dense forest and brush and stuff. So it's a good addition to the show. Another funny thing was, so they get Beckett, in to do the operation and take out the tracking device that's attached to his spine, and he has to take off his shirt to do it. And Taylor's helping him take off his armor and his shirt. And then there's a scene where she just like stares agog at his chest, and she's meant to be looking at the Wraith handprint on his chest, but they didn't like emphasize that enough in makeup. And so it just looks like he takes off his shirt, and Taylor's just like, just staring at him when she's supposed to be staring in horror at the Wraith handprint. It's very funny. And Martin Wood even acknowledged on the commentary that, we should have made the handprint look a lot, emphasize that a lot more.
Well, it works as a joke.
Yeah, we get some really good Beckett scenes in this one too.
Mm-hmm.
Something else I did notice is that my wife has always told me that I say the word see if I can say antibiotics weird. If I just say it without thinking, it comes out as antibiotics. And I noticed that Beckett was saying it that way, so I must have like some Scottish ancestry.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the only other time I've heard someone say it that way.
We've got aspirin and Tylenol, antibiotics. There you go.
I did like how
he wants to put him to sleep to do, back surgery, and Ron's like, no, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, you can't flinch. I won't flinch.
Yeah. And then we get the little body cast of Ronan's back that they're actually cutting into and pulling the little thing out of. Apparently there was a lot more, the flashbacks, there was a lot more there that they had to cut out. Like on the Wraith ship, there was a lot more of them kind of trying to feed on him. But they acknowledge that we don't know yet, even to the end of the season, like why the Wraith stopped feeding and said, no, you're going to be a runner. So that's a mystery.
Okay. I don't remember there being a reason. I just assumed like, oh,
there's not really a
this
reason.
Guy's okay. Yeah. I figured they just like, this guy's super strong and like he can entertain us.
Yeah.
So, and that's why they made him a runner.
He kept outrunning the Polaris they were chasing him on. So like, we'll keep him doing that.
So Taylor got to do the Teal'c thing where it's like, I've heard that story, old Jaffa legend. And she's like, I've heard you're a runner. And she heard about it, but I like that you're a little concerned. Like, he's an alien, she's an alien. How is this going to work? Are they going to become buddy-buddy? Or are they just going to know everything about each other? But they managed to make them very different from each other, which I like.
Yeah.
And in this episode, she was almost like the intermediary. She was very calm, very, when Beckett said, like, I have antibiotics and all the things, and she just kind of translates like, okay, this is what's going to happen. Just calm down,
Mm-hmm.
which was nice. It was nice that they gave her a role. I hate to say gave her a role in this, but there's a lot of people running around. So everybody had something to do this time.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's the one who had to get her and Shepard free.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did like that too when they're tied up and she's like, it's like, what are you doing? I'm trying to get us free. Well, it didn't feel like it as they're tied back to back, and she's like, and but there's a lot of really funny lines in this. Not even just the McKay lines, but when Beckett shows up and is like, this guy's really dangerous, and you're sending me in to like operate on him, and Shepard's like, well, just do you remember the story of Andronicles and the lion? And Andronicles and the lion, and Beckett goes, well, who are you in this telling? The Romans?
Yeah.
Who put them into the Colosseum there. So
I like that he said he's not, I don't think he's gonna hurt you. And Beckett says something like, well, that's great for you to say he's not dangerous. And Shepard's like, oh, he's dangerous. Like, I just don't think he's gonna hurt you, which I thought was a really nice kind of interaction between the two of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when Shepard was doing his Overwatch on McKay, like, or on the surgery, you see him kind of grimace when he's cutting into.
Yeah.
When Beckett's cutting into Ronan, like, ugh.
Better you than me, buddy.
Well, I thought they did a great job of whatever that was that they have Beckett pull out of his back. I don't know what it was, like what kind of prop it was, but it was actually really icky looking and creepy. You know what I mean? So it was kind of nice that it wasn't just, usually it's like a little cylinder or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. This looked like, oh, that's going to do some damage pulling out.
It was like a cyborg, like virus or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost like the thing in the Matrix.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kind of reminded me
Uh-huh.
of.
That goes into Keanu Reeves' belly button.
Right.
Yeah.
Or if you're a child of like the 70s and 80s and you had the creepy crawlies, it was basically like the boys' equivalent of the Easy Bake Onion oven. Instead of baking, cakes and stuff, you had these molds and you would squirt this like toxic rubber goo into the molds, and then you'd put it in the oven and it would like, solidify them into like
too. Yeah, I had those.
Yeah, and then there were like these hard rubber like snakes and spiders and stuff. It looked kind of like something that someone had made in their creepy crawlies.
I bet you there is a non-zero number of times that creepy crawlies have been used as props in a sci-fi show.
Yeah. Another interesting thing about this is, so they're on this planet. This is like our introduction to McKay's like, well, not really, it came up before, but his like phobia of radiation. And, he's tracking the number of millibars or millirads that he's been exposed to his life and stuff. And so they're on this planet that has like, the harshest sun of all. And it rained the entire time they were shooting outdoors, like just pouring rain. And so sometimes you see it on like the window of the puddle jumper, but other times they were able to kind of, oversaturate the footage, but which was a deliberate homage to the oversaturation on Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, which is like the first film to really use a lot of like digital color correction to really affect the image. And so that was Martin Wood's kind of reference point, was that movie. But so much rain that the puddle jumper prop like actually started to melt because the stuff that it's made out of isn't exactly waterproof. And so chunks of it were apparently falling off while they were shooting because there was just so much rain. And and so they're on this like extreme sunlight radiation planet, and you even see at one point where McKay takes off his helmet and you can see his breath because it's so cold out there. Yeah.
I just thought that was just, he was steaming because he was so hot and humid.
Yeah.
It made sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that I noticed the color difference in the lighting out there, but I was thinking back to Red Sky or the episode with Jack and
Mayborn.
Mayborn. Yeah. Stuck on the planet. Remember how they changed the color on that one too? So I thought because they talked so much about the radiation, I noticed it was a deliberate attempt to kind of make it look different.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. Because there's so much about the sky. Yeah. But then the rain, they did make a reference to the rain. I didn't even notice the rain. That's what's funny.
I didn't either. Yeah.
But they made a reference. I guess what Shepard did made a reference to it.
Yeah, one of them did because the actors were like, we have to say something about the rain. Otherwise, it's going to be just like...
I didn't even notice it.
Yeah. They did a really good job. Yeah. Kind of shooting around it and making sure that you didn't see it.
Shows that the story writing is good. You're not paying attention to little things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you're wrapped up in the story.
And not looking for all the little holes.
Gonna actually it, yeah.
And we learn McKay makes his own sunscreen.
Yeah, I want to know where he got all the stuff for it.
Well, a zinc, you could probably just like grind up anything made out of zinc. And then, cocoa butter, I guess they could have gotten that from Earth, right? They have to bring some sort of moisturizer with them.
My headcanon is that there's like a abandoned Sephora on Atlantis somewhere. He just raided their stocks.
Well,
P3X776 or something.
He had Cosmetics the stuff to Planet. Make it. But they didn't just bring sunscreen with them?
They probably did, but knowing McKay, he'd want to make his own batch.
Yeah.
It's not strong enough. Yeah.
Yeah. Going back to the very beginning of the episode, we saw Caldwell just for a hot minute.
Yes.
In the hallway. And I thought that was interesting because it felt like they were trying to address the fact that you've got Shepard, who's now a lieutenant colonel, right? And you've got Caldwell, who's also a colonel, and they're not evidently in the same chain of command. And that's the whole, what was it like? We heard you found, he says, oh, well, now all senior staff have to be notified immediately or something like that. And Shepard makes a reference to the fact that he doesn't report to Caldwell. Like they're not, hierarchically structured in that way, which I thought it was interesting because we don't really know what Caldwell just does hanging out on the base. I mean, he's responsible for the ship, for the Daedalus. But
and you think the Daedalus, like as soon as it's ready to go back to Earth, like it would just be like heading back, right? It would be like nonstop. Yeah. Like,
back
okay, well,
forth.
we've recharged or whatever. But at one point, like Caldwell dismisses Shepard too, which was like, yeah. And so it was like, okay, so, is there the chain of command there or what? I don't know. They aren't on the ship. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think you probably still have to show respect to your senior officer, even if you don't, to a senior officer, even if you don't directly report to them. Like, and, help note it in Shepard's file and send it back to Earth, and Shepard won't care. But I think he's still, supposed to still salute
Kavanaugh
and whatnot.
come in. Yeah.
Yeah, where's Kavanaugh?
Yeah.
This is where we need to ping Father Corey and ask him how that would work.
Do
lieutenant colonels need to be dismissed by real colonels? But and there was a really nice scene where McKay tells Ford that Shepard has been promoted to lieutenant colonel, and Ford's face just lights up, and he's like, "Really? Oh, that's great!" And it's a really sweet moment.
That's why he reminds me of a kid, right?
Yeah.
It's like distraction.
Well, he's just happy for his friend, Like,
I'm surprised too they didn't like say, "Hey, your grandparents miss you," or like your cousin misses you, and like they could have played that connect. I mean, it wouldn't have brought him back because his mind was all messed up from the Wraith enzyme, but it would have been nice to reference. And
I don't think Shepard told anyone about that visit.
Probably not.
It's like.
But I really think the way that Ford comes across in this episode actually does a lot to make, at least it made me feel much more bad for him than I had previously, because throughout most of the first season, he's just kind of there. You don't really have much of a connection with the character, but I thought what he did here built that up retroactively.
But you cared about him more. I think that when was it the siege part whatever. I don't remember the episode was called, the first one of the season. You know, when he was just acting energetic, but like evil at the same time. You know, I think we said like he had an edge to him or something. But in this one, you get to see the real kind of destruction of what this enzyme and this new life has done to him. I mean, it's not just that he's, you know, we talked about it before, like, is he evil? How did it change his personality? Now he's got wraith in him and all this, but this didn't come across as evil or really wanting to do harm. It was just almost erratic.
Yeah, he's just tweaking, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah. He's still in there.
Just drop him on the streets of Portland or something and get right in.
Ouch.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying he could like really help them because he's like such a great military officer.
Well, and you saw when what's his face referred to him as like Super Ford, right?
Yeah.
He's like a superhero now, and maybe if you go back, then Beckett can figure out how to get you off of the enzyme, but keep all of your superpowers. And he was like, oh, "Really?"
He was just trying anything he could to get him to come back.
Oh, but then he shot him.
Yeah,
and that was the best.
Shot me. I knew it wasn't going to hurt you.
Yeah. But before that, there's a scene where Ford gets mad at Rodney and just basically like, shoots a volley like over his heads, and a bunch of squibs go off. Well, Martin Wood had told David Hewitt that there were squibs behind him, but not where they were or exactly when they would go off. And so when Ford shoots and they activate all the things, like David Hewitt actually didn't know like how many shots there would be or where they'd be coming from. So a lot of that reaction is genuine. And when McKay shoots Ford, Ford has the squib with like, the fake blood in his arm and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I guess he was just like, they were in between scenes and he was talking to Martin Wood or something, or just rehearsing the lines or something. And they just like fired off the squib in his arm. And he was like, you shot me. And that was actually like a genuine reaction because he didn't know that they were going to do it right then.
Oh, nice.
And then he apparently got very mad at David Hewitt because he was still like charged up on adrenaline. David's like, I didn't shoot you. That was the director. That was the special effects guys.
That's awesome.
In that scene where he fires the gun over McKay's head, McKay's just got done telling him like, okay, just go ahead and shoot me if you're going to shoot me. Yeah. And then when he does that, he's like, you could have killed me.
Awesome.
And Caldwell still gives Shepard a hard time at the end. Like, you let him go. It's like, I shot him. What else did you want me to do?
And McKay gets to go, I shot him. I shot him too.
Mercy.
Well, yeah, and the very first thing, Shepard says to, or I don't know who's McKay or someone says to Ford is like, oh yeah, we saved the city, or, he guesses that they were able to save the city, which pretty much if the Wraith figure that out, then, Atlantis is over at that point because they can't pull the same trick twice.
Did you notice none of them are wearing their patches and their countries and all that stuff on their jackets?
No, I didn't.
And I don't remember if that's an ongoing, like, we're going to pretend that we're not from Atlantis now. Like, if we just take the patches off.
Oh, right.
Like, Atlantis is really dead. I don't know. But yeah, I know they were missing on their sleeves.
It's because all the people on planets from another galaxy will definitely recognize how American military patches work.
Yeah. There's another one with that leaf on the...
Of why you have the Earth symbol on your uniform, like, because that's your symbol for home, and you're in the Milky Way galaxy. Like, they know where you're from. Like, if you're until you know who you're dealing with, probably shouldn't tell them where you're from. But they like to tell everybody we're from Earth, we're from Atari.
Yeah. We live on Atlantis. It's not ours. We're just borrowing it and like doing all the things
Still
with
there,
it.
not blown up.
And then if they're a cute girl, it's like, do you want a tour?
We'll give you all our secrets. These guys will lose their clearances so quickly.
Yeah.
And they brought Ronan back too, even though he was, he could have gone off to do whatever he wanted. And I mean, of course, it's just the story. Like you got to bring him into the show. But it was almost like the thing from like the Teal'c thing of like, you can come stay with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we keep him? Can we keep him? But yeah.
Well, I liked when they showed him his planet that they dialed in, and you see the destruction of the city. And I didn't remember all this part, but I was like, okay, that looks like a pretty big place. How do you know there's no one left?
Yeah.
Like,
I had that same thought.
Yeah. Like there could be some rogue, and I think eventually we do run into some of his people, but like there could be some rogue elements, like gone underground, or they're in hiding, or whatever. But no, it's all over. We're good. Now you're just one of us.
Yeah, if they just said like there's lethal levels of radiation or something, like that would have. Here's why we're not there. But
yeah,
I can't remember if they actually do go back to the planet at some point.
They do. Yeah, there's an episode.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember a lot of running around and like kind of like blown up parking structures and stuff. But
so they spend a whole episode in like a Linkin Park music video.
Yeah.
Running around a mid 20th century planet. It's just like they do.
Nice.
Yeah. I looked up Major Lorne. It says 2 episodes in SG1. So,
okay.
And it says 2007 is the last one. So
is that the Space Gate episode, like the Gate Bridge episode? And there is an episode. It might be I don't know. It might be one of those.
Yeah,
that was an Atlantis episode though.
Yeah, I don't remember. So that, I mean, we might get to. Maybe we saw him twice and we just don't remember.
I know there's one where Daniel goes to Atlantis, and I don't know if that's an SG1 episode or an Atlantis episode.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think that's an SG1 episode because they're looking for something to fight the Ori. So
yeah, okay. It says 29 episodes for Atlantis. So
yeah, cool.
We do have a lot to look forward to with him.
Nice.
And then he moves on to Eureka as Sheriff Andy.
Yep.
Yep.
And now he is on Hallmark Channel.
As Sheriff
Wind Calls
Andy.
the Heart.
Oh, no.
Wind Calls the Heart, 110 episodes. Leland Coulter.
Wow.
Are there aliens in this show?
There are no aliens.
Oh, well.
But it is filmed in Vancouver, so you're still good.
Wasn't there like another series regular that we that's on there like every
Are you in the next episode? There's of Atlantis. There's I forget. She plays the major or the military that, but she's in Eureka as well. If that's who you're thinking of, she's in it for a season or two. She's what's his name's girlfriend / fiance or whatever for a little while. I don't know how many episodes of Atlantis she's in, but okay.
Yeah, we get a lot of Hallmark overlap with these. Jason Momoa, as far as I know, has not been on Hallmark yet. So
yeah, he kind of his career went in a different trajectory.
Yeah, he did that Conan movie, and it was. But he's in the new Minecraft movie with Jack Black that comes out next year. So
because he was in that, like, I think it was like the Baywatch reboot, and then he went straight from that to this, and then he was in Game of Thrones, and that was kind of where he started getting big. Then he was in the Dune movies, and then now he's.
I thought he was big before, but yeah,
he was. He's also the villain in the newest Fast and Furious.
Okay,
yeah, he's busy, and he's making commercials.
Yeah, Chris Judge just kept busy too, so.
And he was Aquaman.
He was Aquaman. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Completely forgot about those movies for some reason.
You know what's funny is that considering I would consider him a pretty big name actor these days. And he's still, you see him pop up online that he's going to some of these sci-fi conventions and hanging out with the rest of the Stargate actors and stuff, which I got to say, that's a pretty big deal for him to still be, because this was such a long time ago and he's done so many big things since then that I'd love to hear kind of where Stargate or Atlantis fits in for him. Like, does he have an affinity for those years, or is he, the fandom, I think, still really loves him. So That's great that he doesn't. Some people dismiss it like, oh, that was a TV. That was like that TV show I did a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everything I've heard about the production is that it really was like a close-knit family because the people had been working on it for so long, the same people, and that it was really so I think that they seemed to welcome him in, to that family. So I had to imagine it was probably a really good experience doing the show.
Mm-hmm.
It's always nice when you hear that the people making the shows actually like each other rather than you hear about some stories from some movies or TV shows like the leads of the X-Files actually hated each other the whole time. Things like that.
or like Discovery where they go through like 3 showrunners in one season because nobody can stand each other. But yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Do we have any alternate language titles for this episode?
Yeah, in most cases it was runner. In French we get chasse à l'homme or manhunt. In German we get der Laufer, which is the runner. And then in Japanese it's rana, which is runner.
Nice.
Better.
Yeah.
I figured.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a Lord of the Rings melon situation where it just sounds like an English word.
Yeah.
Awesome. Did y'all have any other thoughts on this episode?
Nope.
A fun one.
Yeah. I was excited. I've known that Ronan Dex is a fan favorite for a while, so it's fun to actually finally get to him.
My kids are home from college right now, and they watched this with me, and they said they were so cute. They were like, wasn't he always on the show? I said, no, not first season. You just don't remember because he, like you said, he just becomes such a fan favorite.
Nice. Before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Stargate, including Brantley M., James D., Matt L., Matthew F., and Mitchell R. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and you can find our video versions at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. To find previous episodes of Secrets of Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. And you can email us at stargate@sqpn.com and follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on X at SQPN. And be sure to check out the SQPN Discord at sqpn.com/Discord. And we'll be back next time with the next episode of SG1, The Ties That Bind. Until then, Jeff Haecker, thank you for joining us and sharing the Secrets of Stargate.
Thanks, Jack.
And Lisa Jones, thank you as well.
Thanks, Jack.
And Victor Lambs, thank you too.
Thanks, Jack. And it's Rodney. Yes, hi. There are 4 Class 1 radiation suits in MedLab storage. We'll need them all. What? Look, I know there's not enough for us all, but we can take turns.
Gotta cut it down any way you can.
Yeah.
And once again, I'm Jack Baruzzini. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Stargate on StarQuest.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?